Can all of you just make sure when you speak, just make sure you turn your mic on and then turn it off when you're done? Thank you.
Okay, this is 7-1 of 2022. Petition of McDonald's USA LLC, care of Eileen Seaberger for variances from zoning ordinance number 678, adopted December 13th, 2012. First, variance sought is section 600-139, parking spaces. Second is section 600-148 G1, lowest edge of the freestanding sign. Third one is section 600-148 G4, illumination of signs. Next is section 600-150 B2, B3A, number of freestanding signs. The next variance request was section 600-150 B2B 3B, size of freestanding signs. And then the next is 600-150 B3, size and number of freestanding drive-through signs. The next variance requested is 600-150 B5A, number of wall signs. And then finally, section 600-150 B5 B3, size of the wall sign. The location of this property is 659 Conchester Highway, property ID 0900000886-00, Upper Chichester, in zone IC industrial. With that is the applicant present.
Hi, good evening. Matthew McHugh, attorney for the applicant McDonald's USA LLC. Before we begin, I have a couple of exhibits that I can hand up back to the board if you would like, along with the originals of our proof of mailing. I don't know who needs to get a copy of it.
Great, thank you.
And in those packets, just for identification purposes, number one is the application that was filed. Number two is the memorandum of lease showing McDonald's interest in the property. Three is the CV of Michael Geithner, PE, the engineer and my witness this evening. Number four is the aerial. Number five is the zoning plan. Number six are renderings of the proposed building. Seven are architectural elevations of the building, and eight is the proof of mailing, green cards and copies of the letters, etc.
Are they so numbered?
Yes, they are so, yeah, they are so numbered. They're tabbed.
You just exhibit 1, the application, is that correct?
That's correct.
In the
Correct.
see that.
Nothing. Nope. There's additional copies for you, and the aerial, the elevations, the renderings are new exhibits that weren't included in your packet. But the plan has not changed at all.
Wait, do you have witnesses
Yep.
for the
If I can call Mr. Geithner.
Sure.
Just one. Right. Yep, that's correct.
Take the oath then.
Sure. Michael Geithner, Jeitner. I do.
Mr. Geithner's CV is included in your exhibit packet. Happy to go through his qualifications, but I'll note that he's a licensed professional engineer, and we ask that he be qualified as an expert in civil engineering. Thank you. Mike, if you could utilize the existing aerial, which is exhibit 4 in the packet. Just give everybody a quick overview of the site that we're discussing.
Yes, this is the existing Larkins Corner Shopping Center, Route 322, literally just south of the municipal building here. By way of background, the existing McDonald's location is on the east side of Route 3, or excuse me, the west side of 322. Noted on the aerial, just describe it for the board. You figure out how to button at the top. This one. Here we go. I could be told. Excuse me. So the existing McDonald's location, which was before this board for very similar variances that are before this board again tonight. The township is well aware that there's some anticipated significant DOT roadway improvements that will be occurring on Route 322. And as a result of that, the access for the McDonald's, the existing McDonald's, will be extremely compromised in regards to their desired, I'll say, ease of access to and from their restaurant. And as a fast food restaurant, and being an impulse type of use, access and ease of access to and from their facility becomes very important. So the existing McDonald's will be looking to relocate across the street, stay within the township. This township has been very good to McDonald's, having multiple restaurants within the township. They would like to stay. So relocating over to what is known as the existing Taco Bell parcel within the overall shopping center. The overall shopping center contains currently an Acme food market, the Walmart facility, and then it has the TD Bank and the other fast food pad use within the center. Access is to and from Route 322, and then also the side road with access points along the rear of that ring road that comes into the site. So the pad site in question, again, is in this front bottom left-hand corner for references by the board. That is correct.
Mike, could you just run through those site improvements here?
Sure. And maybe if you could scroll down to the bottom plan there. Thank you. The middle one would be great. Right there. Perfect. Thank you. So for the record, this is a site plan that has been subject to not only the zoning hearing tonight, but also subject to the land development review that is ongoing with your municipal staff. The McDonald's building will, well, let me start with the Taco Bell building will be demolished. That building's approximately 2,000 square feet in the area to make way for the proposed McDonald's, which is about 4,100 square feet in area. The McDonald's restaurant will be reoriented. Right now, the Taco Bell is running north-south. The McDonald's will be rotated so it's running parallel with Route 322, but really running east-west. And the reason for that is to improve upon the stacking ability. McDonald's, prior to the pandemic, was very concerned with drive-through stacking, as their business made up at the time 70% of their sales was drive-through. And obviously, the pandemic and even post-pandemic, their drive-through sales are north of 90% of their business. So drive-through stacking becomes very important. So for this location, McDonald's is proposing a 2-lane drive-through configuration that merges back into a single lane, and then perimeter parking along the side of the building, front of the building, and then maintaining the parking that's right along Route 322 along the, well, called the south side of the site itself. In order to make way for the facility, McDonald's is relocating the access road or loop road within this portion of the shopping center, and doing so really relocating or displacing some of the parking that's noted within these islands. This has been vetted out with the shopping center owner, and they have accepted the reconfiguration. And as such, we're before you tonight in the form of a overall parking variance, and since McDonald's will be a lease parcel within the overall shopping center.
We could have six. And Mike, are you familiar with this exhibit?
I am. This is the anticipated really look of the McDonald's architectural rendering and architectural really facade that you'll see if the McDonald's is successful within the zoning and land development process within the municipality. To give you some reference, the front of the building at the bottom elevation here, this is the front of the building that will be facing the access drive coming into the current shopping center today. The drive-through side, which is facing Route 322, would be on this side of the building. And then on the front elevation or the top elevation, I'll refer to as the northern elevation that is facing inside the shopping center. So again, referring back to our site plan, the McDonald's restaurant, actually, the building itself will have visibility from all four sides. Although we're not showing the fourth or the rear elevation, it will be very consistent looking in regards to the materials. These materials, very different than what you see at the standard McDonald's or the old look McDonald's that had the red mansard roof. So very attractive colors, materials, earth tones, and obviously the inside of the restaurant will also be upgraded with new facilities, new dining room areas, and the like. So very attractive building. It's been well received in many municipalities where McDonald's has proposed a new facility.
So it's substantially similar to what we're seeing. That is correct. We can go back to the zoning plan, sheet 2, and Mike, I think we referenced initially that there were some parking variances. Could you explain those for the board? Sure.
The current shopping center today requires 960 parking spaces. That includes the overall shopping center itself, the overall Acme and the Walmart and the inline spaces. In addition to the out parcels, that does include the Taco Bell restaurant. With McDonald's being proposed and removing the Taco Bell and proposing a larger restaurant, our required parking jumps up to a total of 990 spaces that's required by your ordinance. We are displacing some of the parking, as I noted, within the shopping center itself in order to reconfigure the McDonald's and improve the stacking, create a safer condition in regards to stacking. And as a result, we have a proposed total of 901 parking spaces with a new requirement of 990 spaces. We end up with 30 more parking spaces because the McDonald's building, if you recall, is about 2,000 square feet larger than the prior Taco Bell. So we're increasing the total up to 990, and then our total proposed is 901. So a total of, or a variance of 89 parking spaces for the overall shopping center. The ITE references shopping centers and parking requirements. If you can imagine, the requirements for parking through the years have changed, and the ratio requirements have drastically reduced because a lot of people do online shopping, and really the necessity for large, expansive parking lots are really somewhat of a thing of the past. So when we look at ITE and we look at for shopping centers up to 400,000 square feet in total area, including out parcels. And again, this overall shopping center, including out parcels, is around 225,000 square feet. So utilizing the ITE parking generation manual, they refer and indicate a overall parking ratio of 3 to 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area for shopping centers up to 400,000 square feet. So a ratio. So if we look at that in regards to this overall center with the proposed McDonald's, we have ITE, that 3 to 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet, we end up with a ratio of about 683 spaces on the low end and 910 spaces on the high end. So we talk about 901 spaces that we are looking at in regards to providing. We fall within that ratio, and I would indicate that your planner during the land development review indicated also about any opportunity to create more green area within the shopping center itself. And I feel we're doing that with a lot of new green that we're creating within the shopping center itself and islands to provide additional green area. We've spoken to the shopping center owner. They obviously have seen this plan. If you're familiar with the shopping center, there's really not a parking demand issue. And even looking back at our applicant's A1, the aerial exhibit, when we get down to this portion of the shopping center, we're further away from really the main tenants and the Acme parking lot that exists within that area. And as such, we're within an area that even though we're displacing parking within that area, it's my professional opinion that we have more than enough adequate parking for not only the shopping center, but then also for the McDonald's operation itself.
I understand there's been some discussions with the township engineer regarding some design modifications that may impact the total parking in the leased area. Can you just describe those?
Yes, as indicated earlier, the plan is going through the land development process concurrently. So we are receiving some feedback on our land development application. And the township engineer is looking at various things on the plan in regards to really access configuration within the McDonald's area, within the shopping center area. And as such, your engineer has made some suggestions in order to, in his opinion, make some changes in order to improve access within the shopping center. And as such, we believe that those access changes may result in a further slight reduction of about 3 more parking spaces. So knowing this and the possibility of increasing the variance, we would like to amend the application and take the prior variance of asking for 901 spaces and now ask for a total of 898 spaces. So 3 less spaces in order to, again, account for potential loss of parking as a result of amending or modifying some of the access configurations within the shopping center in the guides of the township engineer looking to improve the safety within the shopping center itself.
Those 3 spaces will be within the McDonald's area.
We're going through that right now. They will be within the shopping center itself. They may be within the lease area of the McDonald's. They may be off the lease area of the McDonald's, but that is something that we're looking at. Again, the 901 total is for the entire shopping center, including the McDonald's.
And we also asked for a variance for 43 spots in the McDonald's. Should we reduce that to 40 then, just to be safe?
I think just to be safe in case there's some configuration changes that are requested by the township engineer.
Dutch change pressure, sufficient parking. Full and for McDonald's restaurant.
Now, again, as a shopping center as the whole, we still fall well within the range that ITE is referring to in that 3 to 4 parking space ratio. And again, we're very close to that 4.0 ratio. So we're at the high end of what ITE is recommending. And then for the McDonald's itself, I've been working with McDonald's for almost 25 years in developing either new restaurants, rebuild restaurants, reimaging restaurants. I've been before this board on a couple occasions with some of their reimaging projects through the years. A new McDonald's restaurant with a drive-through configuration and the drive-through sales as a true indicator of their overall sale breakdown. Really, the need for expansive parking areas are really not necessary, similar to what I testified with the shopping center itself. So for a McDonald's of 40 to 43 spaces for a new McDonald's, that's more than sufficient, given the fact that their drive-through sales are really a leading indicator of their operation.
Page 3 of the site. And Mike, as you indicated, we had numerous sign variances similar to what were previously granted by the board. If you want to describe, I guess, starting with the wall signs. Go through the
Sure. So the relief will be very similar to what was requested for the McDonald's directly across the street. So a lot of similarities in regards to sign areas, number of signs and the like. The site across 322 was subject to a reimaging project and also drive-through modification. So very similar in regards to the types of signs that McDonald's is requesting. So if we start with the wall signs, McDonald's is asking first off from section 150B5A, we're asking for 6 wall signs in lieu of the maximum permitted of 2 wall signs for a corner lot. As indicated earlier, McDonald's has really visibility from all 4 sides of their building, both from the street aspect of 322 and the access drive, but then interior to the shopping center, really looking at the side of the McDonald's that faces the shopping center, and then the rear of the McDonald's that faces also the shopping center. We have access coming in from really the north side and then the kind of the southwest side. So from a standpoint of branding, but more importantly, providing some direction for the building, what we're asking for really is signs along all 4 facades. And that is consistent with what was requested across the street. And granted, with the exception of we're asking for 1 additional sign, which is the McDonald's logo M on the rear facade, because we have access and visibility really on that side of the building. So the 3 signs or the 6 total signs that we're requesting is made up of really only 2 different types of signs. The first sign is a McDonald's fascia sign, which is the McDonald's script sign. That is 32.8 square feet in area. The second sign is just the M logo sign that consists of 14 square feet in the area. So what we're asking for is really the McDonald's script sign and the M logo on the front, the McDonald's script sign on the south elevation, the McDonald's script and the M logo on the north elevation, and then the M logo on the rear elevation. And if we can go back to the building renderings, which I believe are A6, excuse me. Again, the front elevation that faces the access road, we have the M scripts, the M logo, which is 14 square feet, the McDonald's script, 32.8. The elevation that faces inside the shopping center or towards the Acme, the M logo, the script, again, these are the same size signs. The drive-through side just has the McDonald's script sign, and then the rear elevation, which is not shown on this exhibit, just has the M logo sign. So we have a total of 6 total signs, makes up 140 square feet. Again, the only difference between this and the plan across the street was the really the lack of sign on the rear elevation for the building across the street, as that elevation did not face anything more than just really a side property. I would note for the record, although signs have been removed, there were 4 total signs that were existing on the Taco Bell building before it was debranded. Sure. So when we talk about freestanding signs within the industrial district that we are, we're permitted a total of, get my language here right. We're permitted a one freestanding highway sign, 70 square feet in total area. The McDonald's, if we can go to the and I believe the members of the board have these plans. Hopefully they have it, and they also have them in their packet that was handed out tonight. The freestanding sign is located down in the bottom left-hand corner of the plan itself. That freestanding sign is noted as 148.8 square feet. Your ordinance permits a total of 70. Now, that sign itself is broken into really two main parts of the sign. First off, the standard McDonald's cabinet logo M, and then we're asking for a sign appendage that would be LED in nature that would have really some of the information on it, and that would be both for McDonald's, and then also McDonald's be willing to work with the township. The township wants to put information on in regards to the high school or other community activity, but it would be that type of sign. The sign itself, the appendage has a total area of 27.6 square feet. And then the actual McDonald's road sign itself is 121 square feet. Now, the 148 in lieu of 70 would appear to be somewhat excessive. I would note that the main McDonald's sign is consistent in area and look on what's across the street. It's the exact same sign. The actual area of the red cabinet with the M logo, as you can see, there's a lot of gaps within there. But your ordinance requires us to box off the sign, and that's what gets us to the total of 148 square feet. If we looked at the actual area of the red cabinet with the logo M, that actual area is around 57 square feet. If we add that to the 27 square feet of the appendage we're asking for, we end up around 85 square feet of total actual real sign area. Now, again, I'll go back. Your ordinance requires us to calculate it, squaring it off, as most signs are box in nature. But McDonald's is unique in that there's a lot of empty space or non-signage within their area. And we'd ask the board to consider that for the actual sign areas, 85 square feet, which in my opinion is not grossly over your ordinance of 70 square feet, consistent with the signage McDonald's has across Route 322, with the addition, obviously, of the appendage sign that we're asking for as an enhancement to this new look McDonald's, and also potential benefit for the community as well. I mentioned the LED nature of that script sign. The appendage sign on the freestanding sign. The menu boards themselves, obviously, they're located strictly within the drive-through lane. We will have two main menu board signs that are 20 square feet each. And then preceding those menu boards are what's referred to as pre-menu board signs. Those are 10 square feet each. Those signs that are strictly located within the drive-through area, that are facing the drivers solely within the drive-through lane, are digital in nature as well. The standard manual old McDonald's drive-through sign or menu board signs were 45, almost 50 square feet in area, because they had to put every single menu item on that, and they were serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. McDonald's has now gone to a less than half of that, to a 20 square foot menu board sign, and digital in nature, in order to provide for the different menu options throughout the day. So that menu board would really change 4 to 5 times a day with some specials and some changes. So it's not a sign that would be scrolling throughout the day. Same thing with the pre-menu board sign, that's providing any of the breakfast, lunch, or dinner specials. They're LED in nature in order to really provide for an enhancement for the drive-through operation, but it also helps to reduce the size of these signs because of the very nature of being able to change things, as opposed to having a manual reader board that would be kind of the older version of the McDonald's. So we do need a variance to permit those for the 2 menu boards, the 2 pre-menu boards, and then obviously the sign attached to the freestanding sign. Your ordinance also speaks to really the menu boards and the pre-menu boards being part of total freestanding signs for the site. Although there are menu board signs noted within the ordinance, when it comes to freestanding signs, those are also considered. So we have a total of 5 then freestanding signs. The main ID freestanding sign, and then the 4 menu board signs makes up our 5. Your ordinance permits a maximum of two. And then your ordinance also speaks to a maximum of one menu board sign. We're asking for four. So again, five total freestanding in lieu of two, four menu board signs in lieu of one. The last item within the menu board signs is to permit the lowest edge of a freestanding sign closer to the ground than 7 feet. And I believe this is written so that people don't walk by freestanding signs and hit their head on the bottom of the sign. Obviously, the menu board signs are within the drive-through lane. They have a under clearance of about 2 feet, 4 inches. So obviously they're less than 7 foot of clearance, but nobody's walking within that area. So again, I think this is simply subject to the fact that the ordinance considers menu board signs to be freestanding. So therefore, in abundance of caution, we're asking for obviously that variance. The majority of these variances that we're asking for were requested and granted across the street. So again, very consistent with what was presented and acquired for prior zoning relief.
Of other signs shown in this plan that we haven't really discussed. I'll call those informational signage. Those are all going to be compliant with the zoning ordinance or unregulated.
That is correct. So some of the additional signage would really be directional signs that are located at the driveway entrances to provide some direction. Overhead clearance signs, basically to prevent cars from larger trucks driving through the drive-through and hitting the building. And then at each of the menu board locations, you'll have this overhead canopy that's there in order to really block any inclement weather as you're ordering. None of those signs that I just referred to have any branding element to them. There's no McDonald's language on them at all. So because of that, they're considered informational signs, and then they will comply with your ordinance and not require zoning relief.
Those are all the questions I have of Mr. Geithner. Happy to make them available for any questions the board has. I also have representatives available from McDonald's corporate and from the operator of this particular location available. I don't intend to call them as witnesses unless the board has specific questions. Yes.
We're displacing some of the parking within that pad. If we can go back to the site plan just above the signage plan. Thank you. So the Taco Bell is sitting approximately here, and their parking area is in here. They also have parking that runs along here. So we're taking that parking, putting the building in, but we're adding parking inside here and adding some parking in here. But overall, we aren't displacing a number of parking spaces. As I indicated, there were 960 spaces previously on the overall shopping center. Sure. So we have within the McDonald's lease area, which extends all the way through here, within that area, we have 43 parking spaces. The ordinance for a specific McDonald's of this size would require 60. Well, so number one, I will tell you that McDonald's has reviewed the overall parking configuration, and they've noted that, to be quite frank with you, that first of all, the parking requirement for the ordinance speaks to gross floor area, and then one space for 75 square feet of gross floor area, and then one space for every 2 employees of max shift. What I normally see, my professional opinion, for fast food restaurants would really be one parking space for every 3 or 4 seats within a restaurant. So for this specific restaurant, we're anticipating somewhere in the order of magnitude of 75 to 80 seats within the restaurant. So if we take that, even if we divide that by 2, which would be a pretty extreme requirement in some ordinances, we'd have a requirement of only 40 parking spaces, which we would comply. That would be, the number I gave you would be probably an extreme number of seats within the restaurant. So even if I took 80 seats that would fit within that building and divided it by 2, we would need, again, based off of other ordinance requirements, not this township, we would have a requirement of 40 parking spaces. So with that parking count, we believe that with these new restaurants, the seating would be somewhere in the 50 to probably 60 seat count. So if you look at that and divide that by 2, you're in the 30 parking space range. We have those indicated, really the 2 spaces here, and then some of the spaces within this location here. So if we do that, we may gain more parking for the McDonald's and obviously lose parking for the shopping center. So we'll probably be at a net, well, that again, I believe is based off the fact that 43 parking spaces for the McDonald's is not adequate for their demand. I'm just taking the requirement out of the picture for a second. We do have representatives from McDonald's here today that can speak to what they're seeing from a demand with not only the restaurant across the street, but other restaurants. This restaurant will be equipped with the side-by-side drive-through configuration in order to maximize that. What we see with some of the older restaurants is that the drive-through lane is not adequate enough to get cars through quick enough. So as a result of that, people park, they go in. We do believe that will improve that in regards to people utilizing the drive-through. As indicated, 90% plus of their sales is drive-through. So looking at that and thinking about adding more macadam to the pad site is my professional opinion of just seeing what McDonald's has really transitioned into over the last 5 years, albeit even the last 2 years. That again, I think the need for the number of parking spaces that for a new location we sometimes see as a low number of 35 in some locations is adequate. So I do believe that the 43 for their demand at this location, in my professional opinion, is adequate. Adding more parking, I feel, would be unnecessary, and just adding more macadam, again, based off of their operation. We do have representatives here at McDonald's that I think could speak to that, maybe a little bit more on the.
These shops. It's not always as simple as, oh, let's just load past the McDonald's lease over and add another 20 spaces here. Eating into, although those spaces may not be in use generally by the shopping center, the act is going to have contractual requirements and start to mess around and play with those and become, we have lease obligations and lease breaches if you shift and take parking spaces away from other. So there's some, rationale to the madness of why the McDonald's leased area is where it is. It's where the Taco Bell used to be. The shopping center is set up and functioning with each of these particular tenants having their own areas. So we don't have really an ability to say, oh, let's add a little bit more space to the McDonald's area without impacting getting approval and consent or something else from Acme, from Walmart. Those are like McDonald's national retailers who have specific requirements in their leases as to what kind of parking they have in the location. So I think there's some significant obstacles there. And in order to also just add to parking at McDonald's, I would think that 43 spaces is going to be more. What, one floor,
One total floor. Um, so it's all one floor. The total height of the building is around 19 feet. The building that 40, it's a little under 4,100 square feet. I like to explain it when I look at that building really in thirds. The front third of the building will be the dining room, the middle third, the kitchen, and the back third is really the dry storage and cold storage. In fact, our cooler freezer, which is some of the old locations, you'd see it kind of bumped out the back. Everything's enclosed in one building. Yep. It's, yeah, you'll have really the roof, the actual top of the building is about there, and then you get about maybe 2.5, 3 feet of parapet that's going to block that.
Are also adding a second drive-through lane. Like it testified, 90% of the sales for the restaurant can come through the drive. So it was, from our design perspective, it was more important from circulation and access to look into those things rather than overpark by a number, by quantity. That's why we're seeking the variance. So with 90% of the sales coming through, we don't think there's going to be even at peak demand all of those parking spaces being utilized.
So if we can go back to the zoning plan. So the trash enclosure area is down here. And everything opens this way. So we have a substantial area here. So even if the gates open, they're contained within this floor area, not impacting the two-way circulation here. In here. Okay, so there's going to be a curb here. So it's going to block that from swinging out any further. So that there'll be a curb there really from that gate opens and swings out. It'll stop right there. Access to and from the trash enclosure is going to be through this cut here. People come out, the trash, bring it across here, bring it in. It is a masonry enclosure. Really big enough of house. Dumpsters around, any dumpsters float. It is designed for, locking gates. We have representatives from the McDonald's across the street here. There's operational items they can speak to, but once it's built, obviously, I'm done in regards to what I'm saying. But the design is there to provide for an ease of trash pickup, removal, and to get the truck in and out of sight. And then moreover, it is positioned so that we're not having any of the gates open and block any thoroughfare and thing like that. So there will be a curb here that would block that gate soon. The McDonald's that's across the street. So that is a single drive-through lane. This would be 2 lanes, so you literally will have cars. I would say a single drive-through lane. We're maxing out around 12, 13 cars. Those operations. Rapid, especially if you look at the Taco Bell. Taco Bell was configured and the drive-through extends this way. We have the ability with the 2 lanes that there are 2 lanes from this point back. That if we even go up to, the crosswalk here, from here forward, including the lane to pick up, we're sitting on 20 cars. We can stack within one. So the building has been oriented so we can maximize the stacking because we do not want any type of situation where the stacking would occur back out and impact any operation. So we're providing significant stacking on this site compared to probably those other 2 locations because they're kind of operating as a single menu board. Because of the pandemic, drive-through stacking has been crazy is probably an understatement in most locations because a lot of those locations were either A, never set up to be a drive-through and they added it after the fact, or B, was set up for a standard drive-through, which doesn't have the ability or the capacity to handle the volume of cars. This would be a new location where we're accounting for that significant stacking. That's why we have 2 lanes in addition to the bypass lane that would account for really that drive-through stacking. So this has been thought out with the mindset of the pandemic, thought out with the mindset of the 90% of the sales. So we feel very confident that McDonald's has this 2-lane drive-through configuration at many locations now, and it's been a drastic improvement over the stacking operation of their single drive-through operation.
So you can back up one, 5, this far, we would have 6 problem. And again, that will fine on the side and B. I don't think you'll ever have people like say it's 90% like you don't have anybody on the parking lot. You walk off and break it. But I think we have the question. Yes, you open TV in the air about the changes with a lady wheel that.
Really just some curbing changes, specifically in the access area up here where there's a lot of lanes that intersect with this internal driveway. It's more of an existing condition, to be honest with you, that the engineer would like to look at with us to see what we can do, working with the landlord to reconfigure some of that, add some landscaping, and really have some of these lanes really cut off and require people to go back up to get out, as opposed to multiple lanes coming in all at the same spot. So it's that. So as a result of that, there could be some curbing in here, maybe even over in here, where we may lose a space or two. So that's why we're asking for 3 additional, just so we don't have to come back here if during land development we need to make some further modifications. Yes, sir. It would be up in this area here, so it's at their edge of their lease area, but that, to be honest with you, this just came to light within the last 48 hours, so we're trying to understand it. So we're taking it one step at a time.
Signing. Signs at the back wall, signs for all the, one, one facing, one split.
Right in application.
We also. I'm just looking at all the sign, and understand. Side facing that. We've signed.
We're gonna know what's going on because we're gonna see the sign on the end, and but the back sign. From the other side of Concourse 322. Same reason with the entrance. And then you're gonna also have customers coming from the internal driveways from the Acme. They're gonna have to be able to identify the building as that way as well. Correct. And the building is too. Some people are drawn to the building, some people are drawn to the violence. The McDonald's has these locations that have multiple visibility. It's standard for them to have their logo sign and the McDonald's name of the size of the building.
I have a question to the engineer. Sorry, you had mentioned ITT and ITE. Did I get that right?
IT, Institute of Transportation Engineering. The Institute of Transportation Engineering, or Institute of Traffic Engineering. Sure, that's it. Sure, it's a traffic manual that's utilized by traffic engineers for purposes of utilizing similar like uses based off of collection of data, where they'll go around the shopping centers and actually look at actual parking that's occurring at shopping centers and really the demand, speaking to a lot of shopping center developers and the like. So it's utilized obviously to calculate anticipated parking, but also it's utilized to anticipate peak hour trips and the like. So we've seen that in some ordinances, yes. Up in the Lehigh Valley, we've seen it in, I believe, in Lower Macungie Township, that they refer to that. And I believe Bristol Township has reference to IT, but all traffic studies that come through this township by professional traffic engineers that then come before the board in the form of any kind of traffic study has references within their reports to utilizing the ITE manual in regards to calculating anticipated traffic based off of the actual use code itself. It is, yes, it's really the traffic. It's obviously the traffic manual, but it's the gospel, if you will, in regards to utilizing that to form the basis for forming some of the major parts of traffic reports. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, I can get that too.
You decided. You decided.
Your concerns on the signage, the total number?
Too much time.
Okay.
I personally have problems. With many of the. But so many signs of every region.
So the wall signage in particular, okay. The total number, or the total?
Yeah.
Total number.
So,
The police damage. Okay. So it's generally a static sign. It does change, but it's not changing every 30 seconds. I mean, I can get details on exactly how often it'll change, but it's not a flashing scrolling sign that there's going to be displays. It's going to have just a static photo or message, and then 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, it will change to a different static session. Sure. So would the board welcome a legal memorandum with whatever changes and justification?
Welcome, sir.
Sure. All right, so we will provide your solicitor with some information on the ITE data. We'll get some further clarification on any revisions to the site plan, township traffic engineer. We'll talk to the landlord, and we'll certainly engage in those discussions. I can't promise anything. It's a little bit out of our control. But we'll see, we'll at least explore it, and we'll explain that that's been the request made by the zoning. That's fine.
that makes sense.
Well, so do we need to re-notice everybody then, or we're gonna continue it to it? Okay, understood. That's, yep, understood. No, and we'll be flexible on the dates, just let us know. Okay. So that it would be our request then to continue to next month as requested by the board. Great. Thank you.
Anybody?